Hello everyone, Rurikhan here bringing you guys another Dark Souls 2 video, and today we're going to be addressing the whole Edge thing, the things that Edge magazine has said. They apparently have some kind of exclusive interview for their 249th edition issue, whatever you call those things from magazines, because I haven't bought a magazine in God knows how long. And I think it's actually silly for them to have an exclusive. I don't know if they paid from software to get that exclusive or what happened with that, but it's like whatever. It's one of those things, just whatever. But anyways, in this particular video, at least the analysis that I'm going to do, I don't think it's going to just be Dark Souls 2 exclusive. What I mean by that is the stuff that I want to talk about is actually more generalistic. It can apply to gaming in general, which is why I wanted to make sure to make a separate video as opposed to just putting this at the end of my last Dark Souls 2 video, where it was just like already a 50-minute long video, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna chuck all this other stuff in there as well. It was too much, okay? I doubt people have even gone as far as the 50 minutes. But anyways, I'm already rambling. It's just, it happens on my videos. I ramble a lot, and that's just the way it is. But anyways, getting this started, I wanted to read a couple of quotes from the announcement that they have here on their page for their website, magazine, whatever you want to call it. And what they say regarding Dark Souls is: an eternal battle rages at the heart of Dark Souls 2. On one side stands the stern force of challenge, the very soul of the Souls series. Nice pun. It has inspired thousands of fans to hack their way through two of the most demanding and rewarding games of an era. Fans who expect at least the same test on the next go-around. On the other side is the bright promise of accessibility. And why not? Why shouldn't From Software and Namco Bandai open Souls up to a wider audience when it could otherwise be in danger of becoming stuck in a cult cul-de-sac? We're going to be addressing these things once I'm done reading through this thing, so don't you worry. I already have a lot to say about what they said there, but let's keep on going. Then they say, there are many, after all, who have been put off by the series' habit of obscuring its best assets from all but the most committed. Entire systems, such as Dark Souls Covenants and Demon Souls World Tendency, remain mysteries to even reasonably experienced players. Wouldn't it be a service to the games to help everyone understand them better? On the other hand, isn't the very nature of the Souls series about obfuscation and what it makes you work for? Aren't its greatest pleasures about the slow crawl of discovery and a world that refuses easy interpretation? What would the series lose if it was made more explicit? As we find on issue 249, the answers to these questions are in the hands of game directors new to the Souls series, Tomohiro Shibuya and Yu Tanimura, who have taken the reins from Hidetaka Miyazaki. Their descriptions of how they intend to mold Dark Souls 2 into a more approachable form seems reasonable, but Shibuya admits that their approach will be influenced by their individual characters. I personally, this right here is a quote from Tomohiro Shibuya. I personally am the sort of person who likes to be more direct than subtle, he tells us. Dark Souls 2 will be more straightforward and more understandable. We sympathize, and this is now Edge talking, we sympathize, and actually, sorry that I interrupted myself there twice, but it is actually important to say that this sentence has already generated a lot of rage and actually outrage in the Dark Souls community, because it almost seems like it's somehow connected to the quote, but it's not. This is Edge speaking. I've already mentioned this in a previous video, but this is Edge speaking. It is not From Software. It is not Tomohiro Shibuya. This is not them. This is the guys who do this magazine. They say, we sympathize if that sort of statement concerns you, but at the same time, we can surely agree that all would like to see Dark Souls attain as great a presence as the Elder Scrolls. How it gets there is a worthy matter of debate, but it is certainly a noble task. Okay. This is all I really had to read here, so, whew, man. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to be said here, and there's a lot of stuff to discuss. Not just bad things, a lot of good things too. But anyways, So the very first thing that they say is, why shouldn't From Software and Namco Bandai open Souls up to a wider audience when it could otherwise be in danger of becoming stuck in a cul-de-sac? I assume that a cul-de-sac is like a tight niche, is what they mean by that. So we all know that the Souls titles are already a niche market, pretty much, because not everyone is going to be able to pick up and enjoy a Souls game. But here's the thing. A lot of people seem to assume and straight up say, oh, the fault is on the developer side because they make the game too hard. Or the fault is on the developer side because they don't explain the game enough. But the thing is, I don't agree with that. For starters, as most of you already know, and probably a lot of Souls players will already tell you, that Dark Souls is not a hard game. Not at all. Demon Souls is harder than Dark Souls. This is a matter of debate, certainly. But Dark Souls is not a hard game at all, in my opinion, as I've mentioned this before. What Dark Souls is a game that demands a certain level of respect from its players. And the problem that we have right now in the gaming community, at least I think that this is a problem, is that a lot of people are just used to going through games the same way you go through a movie. They don't expect to be challenged. They expect to watch, to have some level of interaction with the world, shoot someone in the face, or cut their face off, whatever, do something of a violent nature, or maybe even not violent at all, but they expect to have some kind of interaction with the story, but they expect to just experience the whole story without really having to dedicate any time or effort. And in my opinion, this is actually a bad thing, because the gaming industry is not the movie industry. It is two separate things, and both these industries are approaching a line. Well, the gaming industry itself is approaching a line that is beginning to blur with Hollywood, because it's kind of like a lot of games these days. They're just almost like movies to be experienced. And note that I'm not saying that this is necessarily a terrible thing, so to speak, because you have great experiences like, for instance, the Uncharted series. I'm a big fan of the Uncharted series. I like playing Uncharted. But not all games have to be like Uncharted. And the problem is, a lot of people expect games these days to be just like that. They expect games to be more of a storytelling experience than necessarily an exploration experience, so to speak. A lot of people these days believe that the only effort they need to put in to completely finish a game is to buy the box. It's just, oh, I bought the game, I get to play it all the way through without really caring too much about it. And look, you're entitled to that. If that's the kind of experience you want, that's fine. But what I'm saying is that the gaming industry needs to move away from pigeonholing everything in that direction, because the good thing about the gaming industry is that there is a wide variety of experiences to be had. It's not all about Hollywood shooters and action games with amazing action sequences and whatnot. And I almost speak against myself, because I like some of those games, okay? I like it. But there also needs to be certain titles that need to be challenging. And they need to achieve a certain level of, let's say, a certain level of notoriety based on their own mechanics, not by changing their mechanics to the point where they become one of those other games that it's all about being easier and whatnot. So here is the thing. I don't think that the problem is that Dark Souls is not an accessible game, because Dark Souls is an accessible game. The problem is that the gaming community these days are not interested in investing time in figuring out how to basically play Dark Souls. Because there's like a bazillion games out there, and a lot of games have a lot more media attention, like, let's look, Halo 4, Gears of War, 76, I don't know. There's just a lot of titles out there that just demand more attention. Call of Duty, yeah, that's what I was going with it. Call of Duty number 78. Battlefield. Lots of games are coming out, and people don't seem to have the attention span required to play a game like Dark Souls. Is this really a problem of Dark Souls? No. Dark Souls is not that inaccessible, and the good thing about Dark Souls is that not only it is actually a fairly accessible game, that the fact that a lot of people think that this game is so hard actually makes community members of Dark Souls to come out and say, look, it's not this hard. Let me show you. There's like tons and tons of people out there contributing information that will teach other people how to play Dark Souls, myself included. Epic Name Bro, Vegeta 311. There's like over bazillions of people just teaching people how you can play Dark Souls. And the thing is, not only we try to educate you on the several systems that Dark Souls has, we usually take a different approach. Like someone will ask, oh, what is a really good build that I can do? Or what can I do with this specific character that I have? And we'll say, look, do you like this play style? Maybe you should try playing like this. Or do you prefer this play style? We don't say, look, here's what you got to do. You need to put 50 strength, friggin' Havel's shield, do something. You know, we don't tell people, do this. We don't give people a fish. We teach them how to fish. That is what the Dark Souls community does. And to be completely honest, if someone can't figure out how to play Dark Souls, the problem is that that particular person is not looking in the right places. All you have to do is go to Google and Google up whatever you want to know about the game. And you might say, oh, but that kind of stuff needs to be in the manual. Well, the manual gives you the basics. Did you bother to read it? The manual will actually tell you, look, if you go behind someone, press R1, you're going to get a backstab. If you go whatever and you press, if you go in front of someone as they're attacking you and you press R2 and you have a shield, you're going to do a parry. And then you're going to be able to do a riposte by pressing R1. The manual will teach you this kind of stuff, I believe. I haven't touched the Dark Souls manual, to be honest, because obviously I came from Demon Souls, so I kind of already knew the basics of the stuff that you had to do. Actually, I had to learn some new things with the kick and the jumping attack, because we didn't have that in Demon Souls. And it's like, sure, if you want to go to the manual for basic information and figure the rest of the stuff out yourself, it's pretty damn easy. Just go ahead and do it. I'm pretty sure anyone can do it. It's not really that hard. What you can say is that Dark Souls does not hold your hand, and you're put in this open world, and there's a particular way that you're supposed to go, but the game doesn't tell you. Because once again, just because there's an easy way that you can go to, it doesn't mean that's the way you want to go to. And that is the greatest thing about Dark Souls. You guys know how many times I died before I actually found out what was the right way to go to Dark Souls? I died a bunch of times, trust me, because you get that character, the crestfallen warrior, he tells you, you need to ring the bells up top and the bell below. And I was thinking, well, probably the bell below is going to be easier, so I'm going to find some way to go down. I ended up going down to New Londo Ruins and got my ass kicked. I believe a lot of players had this experience. There's even some kind of animated video where someone does this. But that's the thing. It's about exploring. It's about rewarding your sense of exploration. And you will notice that I'm highly influenced by this sense of exploration in just about every game that I play, because I always tend to, oh, what's over here? I want to see what's over here. Oh, look, I found this thing. Oh, look, we should go over there and see what's over there too. So it's about exploration and rewarding that exploration. And the thing is, opening that up, like when you say open it up to a wider audience, what does this audience really want? Do they want like an arrow on top of your character telling you, oh, you should probably go this way? Is that what we're talking about here? What are we saying? You want a bigger manual that teaches you more stuff, gives you detailed information about poise? Are people going to read that? I mean, I can take a better tutorial, like maybe have a better tutorial experience in Dark Souls, and that can be a little bit of a change. But I'm not going to say that I'm going to support them opening up the game to a wider audience by doing over-the-top things like quest indicators and quest text and guides. And, like I said, I think at the end of this, the point is Dark Souls does not need to be opened to a wider audience. A wider audience just needs to basically want to play it. That's all that needs to happen. If anyone decides, oh, I want to go ahead and figure out how to play Dark Souls, I can assure you there's plenty of online resources that are going to tell you exactly what you got to do for whatever scenario. Like, you think of one scenario that you want to do for Dark Souls, I guarantee you someone has done a tutorial on how you can do exactly that. It's just a matter of looking for it. And then they say that there are many people who have been put off by the series' habit of obscuring its best assets from all but the most committed. So people are getting turned off by the fact that the game doesn't just give everything to them at the start. Like, they're put off with the fact that they have to discover how things work. Why? That's part of the sense of exploration. Why are people put off by that? Because they want to play Dark Souls like a Hollywood shooter? No. People should not be put off by this, because Dark Souls is not a Hollywood shooter. You're not going to pick up Dark Souls and like, I'm just going to run through here, be like all badass, slash everyone with amazing freaking crazy animations. I'm going to do a backflip and I'm going to kick someone in the face while doing a backflip. Same time, I'm going to pull out a pistol from my pocket, shoot them in the ear, and then I'm going to kick them in the balls and push them off a cliff. No, I mean, that's not the type of game it is. And I don't understand what they mean that people are put off by it. To me, what happens is actually the exact opposite. I love the fact that a lot of the stuff is obscured. I love it because it's like I still need to figure out how stuff works. That's the fun part of it. And then they say entire systems like Dark Souls Covenants. Are you serious? Are you going to tell me that there's a lot of people that really don't know how Covenants work? That's impossible. I mean, there's so many. I myself have made a guide like eons ago, ages ago. I've made a guide that tells you just about everything that each of the Covenant does and what are the benefits and what you can do when you join that Covenant. Just Google Dark Souls Covenant Guide. You're going to find at least one result from me, a video where I explain to you about the covenants and what you need to do and how do you join each covenant and so forth. So, I mean, you can't really say that people don't know about covenants. Now, Demon Souls World Tendency is a little bit more cryptic. I'll give you that much. But then again, I never really was that interested in figuring it out. Because all you gotta really do is go to the Demon Souls wiki and all the information is there. They will tell you where you can find black phantoms, what tendency you have to be in, where you can find white phantoms, what tendency you have to be in, what do you have to do to darken the they'll explain you what you have to do to darken the soul tendency and what you have to do to whiten the soul tendency. This is even explained in game. I think the game even tells you that different things happen when different world tendencies occur. I mean, I can simplify this for you right here, right now. You want to know how Demon Souls World Tendency works? I'm going to give you a really basic one. I'm not even going into too much detail. I'm just going to give you a basic outline. Kill bosses, world goes to white tendency. Die while you're in body form, the world goes towards black tendency. That's just the simplest way to do it. And then there's also character tendency as well, which, I mean, arguably that system is a little bit complex, but it's all in the wiki. Everything is online. Anyone who shows a minimum interest in understanding these systems can go online and understand them. They say that these remain mysteries to even reasonably experienced players. No, they don't. They don't. You're wrong. You're just wrong. You're just flat out wrong. Reasonably experienced players will know these systems back and forth. Okay? Forget about it. They're probably not going to memorize them, as is my case. Like, whenever I feel like I want to know more about a particular world tendency event, I go to the wiki and check it out because the information is there for me. I'm not going to memorize the entire wiki. I don't need to. The information is just there for me to go and consult it. And the Dark Souls Covenant, that stuff I even know by head because I play Dark Souls a lot more than I play Demon Souls. And I guess I could be considered a reasonably experienced player, right? So I wouldn't say that there's mysteries there. But the funny thing is, even when there's something that I didn't knew about, that I found out about it later, like for instance, recently something happened. I was watching the NB video and I figured out that you could actually take a different path in the ruins of Lost Izalith when you're in the lava. There's like actually two paths that take you to the Lost Izalith area where you eventually get to meet the Bed of Chaos. There's two paths that actually go from the lava that go up. I only knew about one of them. Only recently have I found out that there were actually two of them. They even fork together and everything, and I never knew about it. And that actually doesn't turn me off. It turns me on because it's like, You mean there's stuff in this game that I still haven't figured out? That's amazing! I need to go do some more exploration, figure more stuff out, you know? Wouldn't it be a service, now going back to their quotes, wouldn't it be a service to the games to help everyone understand them better? To a point, yeah. To a point, I would have to agree with that. Sure, I would like to have, when I started playing Dark Souls, I wish I would have had a better understanding of what poise was all about, because I didn't knew that much about poise. And maybe how endurance worked. I guess there could be a little bit of an improvement there, but the community itself has done those things. The community itself has taken care of experiencing and divulging that information. It is out there. It is actually a good thing that you have to interact with the community to fully understand how the game functions. It is a good thing. If anything could be improved, I think it would be the crafting system. The crafting system is a little bit cryptic, even though in Dark Souls it's actually a lot easier than in Demon Souls, but it's kind of weird for you to be upgrading a weapon and you don't really know what the weapon will end up being, but that's kind of part of the mystery as well. I think that's actually intended, and I wouldn't necessarily call it bad game design. It's just experimentation. You just have to experiment and play with it until you figure it out. Then they say, on the other hand, is in the very nature of the Soul series about obfuscation and what it makes you work for. This, yeah, you're absolutely right there. And its great pleasures about the slow crawl, discovery in a world that refuses in easy interpretation. What would the series lose if it was made more explicit? It will lose a whole lot, I'll tell you that much. It would lose the allure of the world, because that world kind of sinks you in because you don't know a lot about that world. It keeps sinking you in because you always want to find out more. And the other good thing is that since there is no specific storyline, there's just like, I mean, I'm sure they have some kind of grand scheme behind the storyline of Dark Souls, but they don't reveal it. And that is the good stuff, because it allows the community to come up with theories about stuff, like how there's the theory that Seath basically raped Guinevere and they had Priscilla. That is an amazing theory. And again, it is just a theory. There's absolutely no confirmation that that is what happened. It is one of the theories, even though it's actually one of the theories that I personally like because it's so far out there. It's a crazy theory. And again, they don't even give you something as simple as who was Gwyn's firstborn, and the community still to this day struggles with that. Some people is like, oh, it was supposed to be Andre, but they didn't do it. And then it's like, oh, it's probably Solaire because he's kind of like supposed to be a deity that's lost all its powers and all. That thing is good. That speculation of what the story is about is good. It gets people talking, gets people interested, gets people ingrained into the game. It's all good. You know, it's not a fact. It's again, it all boils down to, does the game need to be more open? Does the game need to spell everything out for you? Does it really need to tell you every single thing about its story, every single thing about its mechanics for you to really get into it? No. I mean, the gaming community itself are the ones who need to decide, is this a game I want to dedicate my time to? Just look up videos and see, look, do you want to learn how to play this game? Then go and learn how to play this game. Don't wait for like the developers themselves to like go to your house and teach you, look, here's what you got to do. This is how you equip armor. This is how you upgrade a weapon. This is how you do this. Now, explore, experiment, play with it. That is what games are for. Now we come across the next question, which is a lot of people have actually asked me about this. What do I think about the fact that Hidetaka Miyazaki is no longer the game's director and he's going to take a supervisory role, and the game's director is going to be Tomohiro Shibuya, who has worked in titles such as Resident Evil and Monster Hunter? Well, for starters, one of the things that I expect is that he uses more of his Monster Hunter knowledge and less of his Resident Evil knowledge, because I'm not a huge fan of Resident Evil, but I am a big fan of Monster Hunter, even though I'll be honest, I never really played a Monster Hunter game for long. I played a bit of Monster Hunter Tri and I loved it. I thought it was amazing, but I never really got into it because it was a Wii game and I very rarely played my Wii and whatever. But I am very interested in Monster Hunter games. It is a franchise it is one of those things. It's a franchise that I've always been incredibly interested in, but I never spent any time playing. Even though I actually recently purchased Monster Hunter Freedom Unite for the PlayStation Vita because it was discounted for PlayStation Plus members. So I might be doing some stuff on that, but I'm actually glad that a Monster Hunter, that someone who was involved in Monster Hunter is directing a Dark Souls game. Not because I want Dark Souls to become a Monster Hunter type game, but I do want, as I've mentioned in a lot of previous videos, I want a better cooperative experience. And according to what I know of the Monster Hunter series, which I'll admit it's not a lot, I believe that the Monster Hunter series is all about players getting together to hunt monsters cooperatively. You know, that is a good thing. If they will improve on the multiplayer system, which they said they will, and they will make it for a better cooperative experience. They will make it to be able to, for you to get people more easily into your game, which a lot of people will say, oh, but Dark Souls is all about being alone and all that stuff. I don't necessarily agree with that. I actually have the most fun usually when I'm playing cooperatively, even though there are times where I want to play by myself. That's cool. They can do both things. They can let you go ahead and tack on all the bosses solo mode and increase the difficulty of the bosses when you summon someone in. That is actually a really good thing. I hope Tomohiro Shibuya brings some of his Monster Hunter experience to the table here and actually improves on Dark Souls' collaborative effort. And here's the thing, too. Hidetaka Miyazaki is still going to be supervising the game. So do you think that the guy who placed the Anor Londo archers, you think he is going to let you just steamroll through the game? I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be taking a much larger role than a lot of people are expecting because, let's face it, the Souls series are probably some of his best work. And to me, it's his best work, definitely. It is probably the only thing I know that he has done. I don't know a lot of Miyazaki's work apart from the Souls series. So, I mean, I don't think that Miyazaki's just going to be like, oh, here's my baby, raise it as you will. No, he's going to be like always looking over the shoulder, Big Brother style at Mr. Tomohiro Shibuya. And he's going to be like, Mr. Tomohiro, that is a little bit easier than I expected. I expect you to double the hit points on those monsters as well as double the damage they do, as well as make sure they knock the player back. Maybe I'm exaggerating here, but I wouldn't read too much into it. A lot of people started immediately drawing parallels, saying, oh, the guy who worked on Resident Evil is going to direct the Dark Souls. But you keep forgetting he also worked on Monster Hunter, you know? And I hope that the skill set he's bringing to the table is more related to his Monster Hunter skill set in order to improve the multiplayer experience on Dark Souls. And even though the multiplayer experience on Dark Souls is quite unique, as we all know, leaving the messages behind, summoning random people, all that stuff, it's really cool and it's very unique and it's amazing, but it could definitely be improved. Let's be honest here. It could definitely use a lot of improvement. Like, how many times have you clicked the summon sign and summoned someone and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the summon sign disappeared, or you are unable to summon someone, something like that. I mean, just saying. I mean, there's a lot of fun to be had. I also hope they manage to somehow make sure that when you do team up with people, you team up with people that don't have overpowered gear or something like that, because that is something that sometimes happens, and it kind of frustrates me a little bit, because I want to summon someone who is around my level and around my gear level, if that's a thing. And I don't want to be able to just summon someone who is overpowered and wrecks everything. Like, even in the video that you're watching in the background, maybe not, it wasn't in this episode, maybe it was in the other one, when I teamed up with someone to do the gargoyles. I mean, the guy I teamed up with went straight to the second gargoyle as it was coming down, sliced them open in one hit. He just one-shotted that bastard. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess I don't have to do anything then. And that's not something you really want in a Souls title. But again, it goes to tell you, look at how hard it was. I summoned someone, he went there, one-shotted the damn thing, finished the fight for me, you know? Oh, anyways, so that is my opinion on the whole Tomohiro Shibuya thing. I hope he brings a lot of his views from Monster Hunter into Dark Souls while not completely destroying the core essence of Dark Souls. That's the point. And I think that he will be, I mean, anyone at all who is familiar with the Souls series knows not to completely destroy the formula that makes it so great. That is why I still, despite everything that's being said, I still have a lot of hope for Dark Souls 2. I have a lot of hope that they're not going to fall into this pressure from the gaming industry to make the game more accessible. Now, something that does concern me, that really does concern me, is when he says, I personally am the sort of person who likes to be more direct than subtle. Dark Souls 2 will be more straightforward and more understandable. And this right here is a direct quote from Mr. Tomohiro Shibuya, who is going to be the director of Dark Souls 2. This sentence is very concerning indeed, because a lot of the mystery and allure of Dark Souls lore is the specific point of figuring stuff out, the point of the community discussing and coming up with these theories. It's fun. I mean, part of the game, I would almost say that a big part of the Dark Souls experience is online, interacting with other people, figuring out stuff by speaking with other people who are also playing the game and also trying to figure out how things work. That is a great part of the Dark Souls experience. Why would you want to take that away? I don't like this particular sentence, and it does trouble me, but there's not a whole lot that we can say until we have proof of what he means by that. I mean, for all we know, he could be just talking, I want Dark Souls 2 to be more straightforward and understandable on a mechanical level. Like, he wants people to be able to know everything that they can do with their character, know how to kick, know how to do the jumping attack, know how to do plunging attacks, know how to do backstabs, ripostes, parries. Maybe that's what he's talking about. But if he's talking about the lore, then we might just have a bit of a problem here. So here's the thing. From a mechanical standpoint, overall, I don't have a big issue with Tomohiro Shibuya being the director of Dark Souls 2, because I don't believe that he is going to destroy the series, and I actually believe that a lot can be improved with whatever he brings to the table from his Monster Hunter experience. But from a lore standpoint, I am extremely concerned. I'm extremely concerned that they're going to make the lore more direct. Almost, I'm concerned that they would make it more like a narrative-driven game. You know, I don't want my Dark Souls to be like Uncharted, okay? I like Uncharted, but I don't want... I like those two things separately, okay? I like playing Uncharted when I feel like playing a Hollywood blockbuster, whatever. And I like my dark and mysterious lore when I'm playing Dark Souls. I don't want Dark Souls to tell me, oh look, this is exactly what happened. First there was Gwyn, then there was Guinevere, and then whatever, you know? I don't want that to happen. I want to know... I don't mean I want to know. I want to be able to explore. I want to be able to come up with my own theories. Like, in my opinion, Solaire is the firstborn. That is my opinion, and nobody can tell me I'm wrong. They can tell me they don't agree with me, but I don't necessarily believe they can tell me I'm wrong, because there's not definitive evidence in the game that proves otherwise. So yeah, that does concern me. And then there's the fatal sentence, we can surely agree that we would all like to see Dark Souls attain as great a presence as the Elder Scrolls. How it gets there is a worthy matter for debate, but it is certainly a noble task. Yeah, I'd like there to be more people playing Dark Souls. I definitely would, but the problem is, once again, the gaming industry currently does not support this kind of title the same way they would support an Elder Scrolls title, simply because they don't want to take the time to sink their teeth into the game. They don't want to. They want more stuff to be simply handed to them. They want the story to be spoon-fed to them. This is the general direction the industry is going in. And I think that for Dark Souls to attain as greater presence as the Elder Scrolls at this point in time, it would have to sacrifice too much of what makes it Dark Souls, which is the reason why I don't want that to happen. And yeah, I don't really know. I don't really have anything else to say. I have another video coming for Dark Souls 2 soon, where I want to talk about stuff that I would like to see. I want to talk in more detail about the whole thing I mentioned about the Age of Dark and Age of Fire being incorporated into Dark Souls 2. But once again, it's like I'm saying, the problem that we have right now is that a lot of people want to make Dark Souls as big of a franchise as Elder Scrolls. And I fully understand why you would want to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, we still have to realize something. This is all a business here. It's all about the business. It's all about the Benjamins, you know? So it's like, at the end of the day, obviously From Software wants to make this game as appealing as it can be to a greater audience. The problem being, to me right now, that greater audience is not ready to accept this title as it should be done. They're just not ready to accept it as it should be done. So a lot of changes would have to happen in the Dark Souls game for it to be accepted by a greater community. And I think those changes are actually a bad thing. And I don't want to see those changes coming. What I want to see is Dark Souls to keep growing the same way it grew from Demon Souls. Because Dark Souls was a lot bigger hit than Demon Souls. Now, part of that success is because it also launched on the 360 and eventually even made its way onto the PC. So this is actually a good thing. It's been able to stand on its own merit. And the reason it was able to do that, it was because of the amazing community it has behind. Community which is constantly growing. And you know why that community is constantly growing? Because we want more people to play Dark Souls. People seem to think that the Dark Souls community, I mean people from outside the Dark Souls community, seem to think that we're some kind of elite, a bunch of elitist pricks. Nothing could be farther from the truth. We're the exact opposite. We're constantly telling people, look, this is not hard, okay? Look at how I do it and try doing it yourself. This is not hard. It's actually challenging, fun, and it will give you a sense of achievement that no other game in the world can give you, okay? It is a unique experience, but it needs to be experienced as is. It can't be changed. It can't have a more straightforward storyline. It cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, become easier, because that will destroy the game. Forget about it. If it becomes easier, if it comes with an easy mode, forget about it. It's destroyed. The experience is wrecked, and it will never achieve the level of notoriety it deserves. Dark Souls 2 will achieve a bigger level of notoriety than Dark Souls 1, because everyone who was introduced to Dark Souls 1 by the Dark Souls community loved the game. Okay? I'm pretty sure of that. I myself have introduced several people to this game, and they loved it, and they play it to this day, and it's become most likely one of the best games in their opinion. It's become one of the best games they've ever played. I know this. I've seen people feedback from me personally introducing them to Dark Souls, okay? So I know about these things, and Dark Souls 2 will live or die on its feet based around what they decide to do. If they decide to keep on catering to its Dark Souls community, which is us, I mean us, the people that have played Dark Souls 1, that love Dark Souls 1, that like the fact that it's hard. If they maintain that formula, maintain the game hard and challenging and giving you an amazing sense of achievement, then we, in turn, will present Dark Souls 2 to an even wider audience, because it's the word of mouth. Because here's the thing, you can have a really, really big game like Call of Duty, and a lot of people will hate the game. But in Dark Souls, maybe less people like the game, but the people that like the game, they love it to death. They will stand by it. They will defend it against anything. And we will stand by Dark Souls if the From Software makes right on us. If you make it right, Christ, I get so passionate when I'm talking about Dark Souls that it's just, I start going all over the place. And guys, just remember, English is not my native tongue, but I believe there's some kind of expression that make this right by me. That is where I'm going with this, is if From Software makes right by its customers, then we in turn will make right to From Software, and we will bring more people to Dark Souls 2 than you have ever imagined, okay? The Dark Souls 2 fans will blot out the sun, and that's all I gotta say. So thank you very much for listening up to this point. If you have, as usual, leave me your feedback, comments, all that kinds of good stuff in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe and like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.